Hello everyone, it's me Kendra Leah and I'm here with Karen Professional to give you some demoing on how I like to do my dimensional foil work using the new Simply Blonde Cream Lightener. It is definitely turned into my go-to and I'm just going to show you all how I work my formula as well as some of my foiling techniques. So stick around. Okay, so my client here, we are in the process of working with something that is very dimensional, very easy, low maintenance, but rich, bright and airy, and something that can really transition into different seasons. So we have foiled an express placement around the head, and I want to show you all how I do some of my techniques in the top. So right now we've done a little bit of face framing. She will have a nice soft face framing haircut when we get done. And I've placed two of my foils. We've done a weave, a slice, and I'm gonna actually do a weave on top and just go into how I like to work the area that's in the crown. This is the biggest section that I usually foil. So this section is very important because especially for my client wearing her hair down, middle part, side part, you wanna make sure you have maximum blonde and maximum blending in the top, okay? So I have a very soft zigzag part parted out right on top of this slice. I'm gonna come down and drop about 50–60% my hands on this section. And I'm gonna pinch this section with my two fingers and space this hair out, okay? Once I do that, I'm actually going to do a baby weave. So not so much grabbing out chunks as most people I would see do. I want to come down, space this section out, okay, and do just a little baby weave, okay, and I want to piece this apart. Once I've done my baby weave, I'm going to go pinch with elevation. So I'm going to pinch the section that I want to have blonde, elevate it, and you're going to start to see some of these pieces fall out, and you can just even see the contrast with the white wall. I'm going to pinch some of these little pieces out. I'm going to just lightly tease whatever's left up, and that is how I work my tease in this section. And then we're going to foil using our Simply Blonde Cream Lightener. Okay, I love the consistency of this lightener. It's very velvety. It is definitely creamy, but my ratio is a 1:1.5 or a 1:1.25. Now, we all know that consistency is very much so preference. So you make the ratio and the consistency that fits you as well as your clients and the texture of their hair. I like my consistency a little bit more thicker, a little more souffle-esque. And I feel like whenever I do that, I am allowed to have my hair kind of stick to those foils a little bit easier. And it's just a little bit easier to work the textured hair onto the foil because we know that most textured hair is gonna have at some point swell. I wanna make sure I can get heavy saturation and make sure that I can have the hair stick to the foil as quickly as possible whenever I am foiling, so that way I can go over it with more cream lightener for oversaturation. So it's gonna feather up into this tease just slightly. I'm not gonna go deep into it because teasing is my safe haven. So whenever I tease, I feel like that's my cushion. So I don't want to destroy my cushion whenever I am doing my foil work. Now, when I look at this section in general, and I think about face framing, now there's different ways to face frame, but because my client wears her hair mostly straight, I love how I have these foils kind of back to back, but this foil sits a little higher. This foil sits along the hairline, and then this foil drops down. So we have 3 different places where the foil sits, but we also have different techniques that we've used to foil. So what does that create? That creates our dimension. So that's how you're going to create dimension when you're foiling. You want to make sure that you're using different techniques, mimicking them on each side, okay, or matching your sections. So whatever I do on the left side, I'm going to do on the right. but whatever I do on one side of my section, I'm going to do on the other side of my section. That is how you're going to create dimension, but also keep that balance. So same thing, okay, right above this foil that is a slice, we're going to take a smaller zigzag. And make sure your zigzags are cohesive. So they don't have to be identical, but they need to be cohesive. Okay, part this out of the way. All right, and then we're gonna just take this hair. Make sure you guys can see this. Again, pinching this section, coming down about 50–60%, and then I'm gonna weave like a baby weave through, all the way through. Pull this up, separate, elevate my section, tease the hair up, and use our Simply Blonde Cream Lightener. Now this lightener is really nice because it has 8 levels of lift. Okay, you can use it on and off the scalp. And what I love about how it lifts is you can see that real true lifting tone. So I know sometimes you can get a little confused and you're like, I don't know if I should pull the foils. Well, whenever you're using the Simply Blonde Cream Lightener, you actually see exactly where the hair is lifted, and that can give you a better idea of if it's time to pull your foils, if you need to leave them on for a few more minutes. So if you want that true lifting essence, you definitely want to try out the Simply Blonde Cream Lightener by Camera Professional. Now, a couple ways you can feather into your teasing is by shifting your brush vertical. So you can come in and go up vertical, or you can shift horizontal and fan up into your tease. But you definitely don't want to cover all of your tease in this area and go directly up towards the scalp. Now, when I'm foiling, I know that my chemical has water in it, in the formula, and I know that with a lot of texture natural hair, water will make it swell. So remember when you're foiling to leave a little bit of space in your foils because you want to give the hair room to swell slightly as it processes with your lightener. So just moving on, we have our 3 foils on each side, nice and balanced. Let's go in and do some horizontals back. Now, some people debate whether this is vertical or horizontal. I just say it's horizontal because it is the top of the head and is what I'm facing. So again, mimicking these 2 foils, I'm gonna go in and do a zigzag part, not extremely deep, okay? Just giving it a little bit of dimension because I'm actually gonna make sure I weave this entire section before I place a slice right on top. Okay, so I'm gonna come again with some elevation in this section here, and I'm gonna drop down, pinching it, and you can even fold it and kind of see how that hair is fanned out. And I'm gonna do just a standard weave, not necessarily a baby light, but just a standard weave through here, just so I can keep a little bit of dimension going through. And then I'm also gonna tease this section pretty heavy. This is gonna kind of break off my face framing. I'm gonna apply the lightener here. Really softly feather this up. Some full saturation. And then once we have this foil done, I want to go in with something a little bit more defined. And I'm actually going to just add a soft slice right on top. Okay, so this is going to add to what we've just done with the one piece that we've teased, and it's going to be right up against each other. So it's going to kind of transition and get a little bit heavier, and then that's when you're going to start to see all the movement that we place in top. So it's going to do a nice thin slice. I am going to tease this slice just slightly because I don't want it to be as close to the root as most slices can get if you don't tease it. It just calls for a lot more toning etiquette, which is okay. But I know how I'm transitioning from this foil to this foil. And I know that I'm gonna have this foil sit up just slightly higher so that I have that graduation. I'll show you how that looks once I place the lightener on this foil. Okay, just wanna feather her up. Okay, so we have her saturated, and you can already see how this graduation is gonna go. So you see how my lightener starts here on this foil and it starts here on this one. If I combine these two, because technically they have combined into becoming one section, you're gonna get movement and graduation, and then as it goes to the end, you're gonna get more blonde, which is what you wanna see, okay? So as we shift into the top where our crown is sitting, I have this section drop back just a little bit more. But whenever I start to bricklay and come in with diagonals, I actually like to start by crossing over from this section into the section that's below the parietal. So I am gonna go ahead and zigzag on the left side of this foil that I just placed, and I'm gonna cross this all the way over into the side section that's below the parietal. And if you can see, it's almost going to rest up against this foil that's here. That is how you're going to create that movement, but also the connection within your sectioning when you are doing dimensional foils. Now, how slim this section is really just depends on you and how much light, how much foiling, you know, how much blonding you really want to see. Because if I space this out, I know that I'm going to get more depth with her natural tone versus getting more light with the foil work. Okay, so again, we're going to drop down and just do a weave about 50%. Okay, separate, elevate, and then tease. And just remember to always fully saturate your foil, because you'll find yourself going back into your foils, not because you are checking them in a good way, but because you didn't put enough lightener on the hair. You know, that's like the worst thing you want to do. You already have to check your foils if, you know, your client has previous color, but you don't want to have to go back in and check your foils just to make sure you've applied enough lightener. So saturate in the beginning so you don't have to go back and correct that. Okay, so I'm going to continue with this bricklaying. Okay, so again, we want to shift back into this section here, and we want to zigzag all the way into this foil, and that's how you're going to create that kind of like bricklay effect. So if we come back and we zigzag over, okay, we have a very pretty zigzag here, very loose, light-handed when you zigzag, because that is going to give you a better result. And then we're going to do the same thing we did on this foil, and I'm going to come back and show you all the results. So see you guys soon.